Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Academy Insider Podcast. In today's episode, I'm joined by Kinley. Cam is an incredible guy. He was a Navy football player all 4 years, big-time player at the Academy, and is now a Navy intelligence officer. And in this episode, we talk about two things that are very common in the Naval Academy experience overall, which is overcoming adversity, kind of finding your purpose through all of the storms and all the adversities that you face in Annapolis and beyond. And then on top of that, we also talk about finding your identity. It's something that was really difficult for me going through the Naval Academy, was trying to find my identity and who I was, not associating who I am with what I do. And so this is a really interesting conversation. I think it'll be something that, again, people experience through the Naval Academy journey with a large frequency. So if you're interested in kind of hearing our experiences through it, what helped us out in our process and what we see as the true benefits of the Naval Academy experience and getting repetitions of overcoming adversity, then check out this episode. I hope you love it. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, enjoy. The Academy Insider Podcast is sponsored by the Vermeer Group, a residential real estate company that serves the United States Naval Academy community and other select clientele in both California and Texas. If I can ever answer a real estate related question for you or connect you with a trusted Academy affiliated agent in the market which you're in, please reach out to me directly at grant@thevermeergroup.com. You can also reach out to me on my LinkedIn page, Grant Vermeer, and I'd be happy to respond to you there. Thank you so much. And now let's get back to the episode. All right, hey everyone, welcome back to the Academy Insider Podcast. Cam, thanks so much for coming on and being a part of this, man. If you don't mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you ended up at the Naval Academy, and where you're at now.
Yeah, man, thank you for having me. Appreciate everything you're doing, putting a positive spotlight on the Academy. But Cameron Kinley from Memphis, Tennessee, graduated from Lausanne Collegiate School there and went on to the Academy. Recruited athlete, recruited varsity football player. So it's kind of how I found out about the Academy and commissioned as an intel officer from there with my degree in political science. So now I'm in Whidbey Island, Washington, doing my naval service out here. So been enjoying it, man. It's been a good ride.
How about that? That's quite the shift from Memphis all the way up to the Pacific
Northwest.
Yeah,
Would have never imagined this a day of my life, but hey, that's what life's all about, man.
Absolutely.
Unexpected.
Very cool. And you mind just giving a quick rundown about what playing for Navy football meant for you? Talking a little bit about your journey all 4 years and how that experience was being a part of the brotherhood.
Man, it's something special. Like it's hard to describe it. It's really just something you feel. And I had an older brother that played football at Illinois. My little brother plays football at Louisville. So they kind of had a much different experience than me being Power 5 and stuff like that. But I think that's what makes the Navy football program special. We don't really have all of the same resources that other programs have. We go through a lot more that other programs don't have to go through, but we take pride in that. And that's what makes us so close. And I think the fact that we truly play for one another, the fact that it's no individuals on the team for real. And if you are an individual, you're not going to last long. You'll probably hit the transfer portal or you'll probably quit. That's the reality of it. Mm-hmm. So I think that team aspect, that brotherhood, like these are my brothers for life, it makes it special. And then obviously, you're representing something bigger than you with that Navy across your chest and you get support from everybody. There's nobody's like, oh, I hate the Navy football team. Maybe like Army or Air Force, but everybody else is like, I love Navy, Yeah. So, I mean, bro, it was special. It was definitely special.
I love that. And during your recruiting process, you talk about having older siblings, people who have played at an extremely high level. What about the recruiting process and what about the United States Naval Academy made you say, hey, yes, this is where I want to go play football, especially not really having much knowledge about it growing up?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So I had 4 official visits scheduled. I had Air Force, Princeton, Yale, and Navy. Navy was my last one. It was like a week before signing day. So I went out to Air Force. Air Force was cool. I liked it. Colorado was just a little too far from my house for my parents to be able to make the games, playing in the Mountain West. I was like, parents not really going to be able to see me much. So I was like, Air Force is off the list. Visited Princeton. And honestly, I thought I was going to commit because I had visited Princeton earlier that previous year before my final season. And I liked it. So I was like, if I get the feeling, I'm committing on the spot. But when I went to Princeton, man, something was just weird. It just didn't feel like I fit. I felt like I was going just because of the name. Obviously, great institution, beautiful campus, great program, but I just didn't think that's where I was supposed to be. Yep. And at that point, I was like, I'm not going Ivy, period. And so I canceled my Yale visit, which is crazy. Like just thinking back on it, like, I canceled a visit to Yale, but canceled my Yale visit and went into the Naval Academy visit like, man, I hope this is it or I'm not going to know what I'm going to do. And I tell you, it's a bridge that you cross over right when you come into Annapolis. You can see the campus kind of in the sunlight as you look over to your left. And as soon as I saw the campus, I said, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
I didn't really know why, man. It was that feeling. But as I look back, I knew it was the next piece of the journey that God had for me to develop as a man, develop as a leader, as a student, as an athlete. And then on top of that, being able to have the military service. It was just a full package that I didn't feel like I could turn down. I'm not going to lie and say it's exactly what I wanted to do as an 18-year-old coming out of high school, but I knew it's what I needed to do. And I mean, it hasn't done me wrong so far. So I think I made the right choice for sure.
No, absolutely. And kind of like you mentioned, when you showed up and you see Annapolis for the first time, that's the greatest
Yeah.
advantage that Naval Academy coaches have in recruiting, dude.
Nah, 100%, man.
I
100%.
remember showing up and being like, whoa, like this place is nice.
Yeah.
Like this place is
Yeah,
nice.
especially being from Memphis, man. You see all this water, you see these boats on the water, and you're watching the football team practice right next to the water. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you lose kind of some of the beautifulness of the campus when you're
stuck
grinding
on
through
the
some of the
yard.
classes and coursework. Yeah. But now, even as a grad, I look back and I'm like, man, this campus is gorgeous, man. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
And
Can't beat it.
and that's how they get you, because they bring you out on your recruiting trips, usually in like what, September, October, and you're like the fall
Yeah, you
weather is
visit the
nice,
game,
the humidity's starting to fade a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah, people
Yeah, man.
out on the boats, water's glistening. Man, can't beat
Yeah.
it. But obviously you make the decision, come to the academy, you play 4 years, you have a really successful career. What moments were most special to you? And kind of, if you have any recollections of like any specific game, moment, or just overall experience that meant the most to you as your time as a Navy football player, and how that related to your experience and your building as an identity as a Navy football player.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be real, man. My first year, obviously as a plebe, it's really hard to make the team to travel your first year. You're coming out of basic training, you're competing against guys that's been training, working out all summer, and it's a lot of numbers that you're going up against. But I was able to make the traveling roster my first year, and it was like four freshmen that made it. And we were going against Memphis in my hometown that year. And, I'm excited, family there, friends there, former coaches, teammates, like this is everything I dreamed of playing against Memphis in my hometown. But I get out there, man, I get my rep on special teams and I blow it bad. It was bad. I got cooked. So I was like, this is not good, man. And when I got back to the school that Monday, my position coach called me into the office. He's like, hey, man, we're going to move you down to scout team for the rest of the year. And obviously, nobody imagines that to be their road to glory when they go from high school to college. And so that was a humbling moment for me. But I tell you what, if that would have never happened to me my freshman year, I would have never developed a work ethic that I have, and I would have never seen like adversity as a good thing for me, right? So I took everything, all the criticism that my coach gave me, and I took that and I took action on it, and that allowed me to develop as an athlete, develop as a player, and I think that's kind of what truly set me on a trajectory to have a pretty good career at Navy. So that was a significant moment for me. Obviously, it's not like a glorious success moment, but it's what I can credit all of my work ethic and mindset to, that moment right there, getting moved to scout team. But obviously, I mean, beating Army in 2019 and going 11-2 and playing in the Liberty Bowl again that year and winning the Liberty Bowl, that's probably going to be my greatest football year ever. It's up there for sure. And then just being with the guys in the locker room, man, those are the times that I always think about and always laugh about. And, going through the fourth quarters and the conditioning together. But yeah, I say that moment freshman year, beating Army, winning the Liberty Bowl my junior year, those are probably the top two moments that I have.
No, I love that, and thank you for sharing that. But I'm also really glad that you brought up that story about going back to Memphis,
Yeah.
your plebe year, getting this opportunity, and taking a defeat, right? Taking a defeat
Oh, yeah.
that kind of established. It was really a foundational moment for you, because this episode is really going to be all about this idea of, again, what I think make the service academies so special, whether it's a part of your athletic career, whether it's a part of your military career, whether it's part of your academic career, but it's this idea of truly overcoming adversity, right? And service academies will put you in a ton of situations in which you will have to overcome adversity, right? I talk a lot about the fact
100%.
that I believe the power of the midshipman experience really is about becoming someone who handles the hard aspects of life better, because you're going to constantly be challenged. You're going to constantly get pushed. And I know you document a lot of these things in your book that you actually wrote. And if you don't mind, I'd love for you to get the opportunity to talk about your book, kind of what inspired you to write it, and how it relates to your experience at the Naval Academy and part of Navy football and just your football career at large.
No, 100%, man. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think what the academy does, whether you know it or not, you're building a muscle of resilience as you go through these hard times. And you don't realize it till you graduate and you're around some of your counterparts and they don't handle stress and pressure as well. And a lot of things that's phasing them doesn't really phase you. And you're like, man, why am I so calm? But it's because at the academy, you're under so many strenuous conditions and you learn how to thrive through it. And so when it comes to identity, the book I wrote, Finding Purpose Through the Storm, I think that's what life is all about. Like nobody is exempt from adversity. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how famous you are. I don't care what family you come from. You're going to experience some kind of adversity in your life. The thing is, nobody controls what happens to them, but you can always control how you respond to it, right? And I remember Plebe Summer, man. There's a couple moments that stick out to me. One, of course, is the 6 a.m., 5 a.m., whatever time it was, workouts every morning. They suck. I hate running. I hate running long distance. It just sucks, man. I hate that type of stuff. And so every morning I'm waking up like, golly, here we go again, about to run a hospital point, running like 5. I'm like, man, this is terrible. And the guy that ran our PT, Major Antonelli, he would always say when, like near the end of the workout, we were doing a little run around the cone type stuff or whatever, when everybody's happy because they know it's over. He would always say, get comfortable being uncomfortable 21. And that stuck with me, man. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. First time I heard it, I was like, what is he talking about? How can I get comfortable being uncomfortable? Like, that's an oxymoron, But basically what he was saying was things aren't going to get better. So you better learn how to appreciate what you're going through now, because the sooner you can get used to it, the sooner you can get used to the challenges and the difficulties, the better it's going to be in the long run. And so I kind of took that mantra and took it with me for the rest of the academy. And then I say another moment in Plebe Summer, man, that stuck out to me. I was killing the PT and stuff. I was a recruited athlete. I hope I would. But I remember one day, man, this girl next to me was struggling in my squad to stay up in the plank. I had just like moved my arm underneath hers to hold her up. Mm-hmm. And when my squad leader saw that, he kind of told us, all right, everybody can get up now. And it was at that moment where I realized, okay, I figured it out. Coming to the academy is dedicating yourself to a life that's bigger than you. Doesn't matter if you can stand out in Plebe Summer. It doesn't matter if you can stand out during the academic year or on your athletic team. None of that matters at the Service Academy. It's about connecting yourself with something that's much greater than you, which is the purpose of service. And I think what the academy does, the sooner you can learn to attach yourself to something that's greater than you, the sooner you can push yourself through adversity, difficulties, and opposition, because you realize it's not about you. It's about developing you to be able to provide something to somebody else. And that's kind of what identity focuses on, man. Like I go through my life from when I was 5 all the way up to now and all the challenges I faced. And it's all reflection. Like I talk about it as if I'm going through it right then, but it all came from reflection to identify the different lessons that I had in adversity to find purpose through the storm to keep doing what I'm doing today.
Nah, I love that. And I think that's so important. I'm just going to double down on exactly what you said, which is that the service academies, especially the Naval Academy, are incredible because they do a really good job of instilling this sense of service in you, right?
Yeah,
and
man.
And it's service as a virtue, right? I think sometimes people see, the service academies and they're like, oh yes, my service is the military service. Like service is what service is what I do. But I think what really makes the service academy so special is that they really do a good job of instilling that no, service is who you are. The military is what you do, right? And you don't have to do a career in the military. Obviously, if you do a career in the military, that's incredible and we love that. But it's an idea of, again, developing young men and women, taking highly competent, highly motivated, highly impressive young men and women and developing them into leaders who have service at the core of who they are, right? As a virtue.
Exactly.
And they'll go on to do that in the military. They'll go on to do that in citizenship, and they'll go on to do that in government, right? And so, I think it's one of those really special pieces of the Naval Academy, again, is that we are dedicated to developing young men and women and turning them into leaders who are ready to go on and carry this sense of service at the core of who they are out into the world.
Exactly. It's a way of life, man, and everything you do, how you treat everybody, the people you interact with, whatever extracurriculars you involve yourself in. It's like you said, it's not all about just serving as an officer, right? I think sometimes, and I don't want this to come off as negative, I think we get so stuck in that we miss out on the true development of what it means to be a leader, which is service to others, right? And so it's not always going to be about the mission per se. You have to take care of the people too. But if you don't know that it's not really connected completely to the military, you're not going to know that your service is to the people as well. you can get so stuck in serving the mission that you forget about the people. So it's very important that you brought that up, man. Service is a way of life in everything you do, not just like when you're actually doing the job.
No, without a doubt. And it's funny you brought up the Plebe Summer adversity story, because it was the same thing with me, dude. When I showed up for Plebe Summer, same thing. I was a recruited basketball player. I was like, I can run.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in shape. The morning pep runs were the worst thing in the world, because
No,
again, the same
horrible.
thing. I was like, I don't run like 4 or 5 miles every day.
No,
I was just,
no.
It's horrible. And you come in with that arrogance. You're like, oh yeah, no, I'm a Division I athlete. Like, I'll be totally fine. And then you start running. And you're like, yikes. I probably should have run a
you
little
got
bit.
it. And then your squad mates and stuff want to compete with you because they know you're an athlete. I'm like, look, man, my pride. Look, you got it. I promise you, that hurt my pride. If you want to sprint like 40 yards, I get with you then. But anything over that, you got it, man. Hats off to you.
Yeah, and that's always my number one piece of advice to incoming recruited athletes. It's like, I know you know you're in shape for your sport, but just run.
Yeah,
just run a little bit.
Now start running.
Ready for it. Start
Please.
running.
Please.
Start running. Save yourself. Save the shin splints. Save the
and
knees.
Get you some good. I was about to say, get you some good running shoes too, man. Not the little Nike shoes you think you're good for you. Now you need something with some thick soles, because you're gonna be running, man. Protect your knees and stuff.
No, absolutely.
That's funny.
And you talked about these moments that were most difficult for you at the academy, some of these Plebe Summer stories, your main football stories. Do you have any other academic or military related struggles or storms that you went through? And how did those moments of adversity help you prepare for the hardships that you faced most recently in life? Kind of what lessons have they taught you?
Yeah, 100%, man. So growing up, I mean, I probably never made less than a B, and a B was rare for me. So pretty good student. And now as you go to Naval Academy, man, you really get introduced to academics. And so I remember my junior year, 2019, first semester, football season is going great. Like, we're winning games, we go 11-2 that year. They were doing some renovations in Rickover. So my double E class was collapsed down. So there were like 3 classes in one. So it was like an actual college class at a regular campus, vice the Naval Academy, where you have like 80 to 100 people in your class. And so, man, I was in electrical engineering. I had a couple of my boys in the class, and, we're winning games. So I'm not thinking about school too much. Like, my grades are still decent, but I start to slip in double E, and I go from a B to a C to a D. And I'm like, oh, snap. Like, I'm borderline about to fail this class. Like, I need to lock in. And then we play Houston, man. Last game of the season, we play Houston, and I get a concussion. And so I missed like the last 3 weeks of double E. And I'm like talking to my teachers. Most of my teachers are giving me like waivers for the exams. And I talked to my double E teacher. I'm like, look, I can't take this exam right now. I've missed the last 3 classes. Like, I need to pass it. Like, I got this concussion. And she's like, okay, I'll let you take it next semester, like when you get back from Christmas break. I was like, cool, that gives me enough time. Now, granted, I got the concussion against Houston. We had like 2 weeks off, and then we were playing Army. I wasn't going to miss the Army game. I did have a concussion, though, but I was going to recover in time for the Army game. But keep in mind, Army was kind of after exams. So I'd already had the waiver. So I played in the game against Army because I get cleared right before I play in the game against Army. And I get back because we made a bowl game. So I get back. We work out for like a week before we go home. And the academic dean calls me into her office. And I'm like, what in the world? And she tells me like, hey, like, I'm thinking about putting you in for an honor code violation. I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, you told your double E teacher that you can't take the exam because you have a concussion, but you played in the Army-Navy game. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I got cleared. Like, trust me, I'm not trying to get over on her by any means. Like, if you want me to take the exam, like, sure, I'll take it. But honestly, I said, I'm not, like, I had academic dean lists the whole time I was there. My GPA never dropped below a 3.0. So I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to get over on you. But listen, I said, you can just fail me, and I'm going to take the class next semester, and I'm going to get an A. So I failed double E. Like, I failed my first class at the Naval Academy. And honestly, I'm going to be real with you. I cried in the office that day because I was so frustrated and disappointed with myself, because I'm like, man, I never put myself in these positions. But once again, it was just a lesson. Like, hey, man, like, you got to keep the main thing the main thing. And I did take double E next semester. And I did get an A, like I told her I would. But it was humbling, man. I fell in that class. And then I would just say swimming, like taking swim classes at the academy was a grind. And it taught me get comfortable being uncomfortable and push through adversity, because I had to take those classes like courses like 3 to 4 times to pass, but
Yep.
I did pass and I kept pushing through it. So just like I said, little moments like that, building the muscle of resilience, failing and getting back up and keep going. Definitely think it helped me to endure some of the things that I will face later on.
No, absolutely. Swimming's the worst. Hey,
Horrible,
I look,
horrible.
and I'm a land animal. I'm not like swimming's again. I can swim, but I can't swim fast. And all I ever wanted to do was like
Exactly.
validate those swim classes, and I could never do it. And there's nothing worse than because again, if you validate swim class, that's one extra free period.
That's a free period.
That's
a free period
a week. But instead of having a free period, now I got to walk all the way over to Lejeune, swim for an hour, and then be late to my next class, walking all the way back, and then go to practice that afternoon, and you're exhausted. Oh, dude, the worst.
Even here in Lejeune, when you just said Lejeune right there, I got like goosebumps, man. Thinking about hopping in that cold water and having to rush to another class and then rushing back to practice. I'm like, man, they not doing this at other schools that we playing against. Man, so yeah, that was a grind.
The grind. But you're not alone in failing double E. Double E is one of the hardest classes that exist at the Naval Academy, and I'll tell you what, that difficult. And also, I just
especially when you're taking other classes on top of it. You know what I mean? It's not like it's just double E and like English history. Now it's double E. You probably got a calculus class in there. Yes. You're probably going to physics.
Yes. You're taking 18 credits. You're taking 18 college credits, probably like at a minimum, right? At a minimum. And I think that's the craziest piece. And I talk about this, again, full transparency and the reality of the Naval Academy experience, trying to compete at Division I level. You have to go play at Memphis. You have to go play at Houston. You like these schools, these are big time schools.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the Naval Academy really, in my opinion, from a pure academic stance, it is a high school on steroids, right? Like you go to class
100%.
from 7:55 until 2:30, 2:20 every single day.
Yeah.
Now, as a varsity athlete, normally 6th period is blocked so you can get to practice. But as a result, you're in class the entire time. You have 4 periods in the morning. You go to lunch. Then you go to watch film or a lift or practice something, and then you go back for 5th period. Like it's crazy. Like you literally are taking 5 classes every single day. And then going to practice, right? Like
rolling straight into practice.
And the rolling straight into practice and being at a high Division I level.
Competing at a high level. Like the coaches don't feel sorry for you. They expect you to compete because Memphis ain't gonna feel sorry for you.
They're college coaches.
Nobody gonna feel sorry for you, man.
They gotta win.
I'm trying to tell you, they career on the line, man. So and nobody's gonna feel sorry for you. So you just gotta make it happen. And I think that's what kind of develops us. But yeah, it sucks. Sometimes I do wish, what would it be like to not have to worry about half these things? How good could we be if we didn't have to worry about half the stuff we dealt with? But we wouldn't be who we are if we didn't deal with it. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And I just want to touch back on one thing that you mentioned, Ryan. It's the double E story, which is like you got to keep the main thing the main thing. How have you used your experiences and some of the adversity through the Naval Academy experience to keep your focus now as you go through difficult times? Like what are your routines?
Yeah.
What are your rhythms? What are your, again, mannerisms to keep your focus, keep the main thing, and how did that Naval Academy experience help shape that for you?
Yeah, I think at the Naval Academy, man, you balance so many things, especially as a varsity athlete, when dealing with academics, your sport and the military stuff that happens here and there throughout the year. And I always tell people the best thing you can do is keep a planner because you're not going to memorize all that stuff that you have to do. And so I would keep a planner to keep track of all my, classwork, all of my stuff that I need to be doing for football and all of the extra meetings that I had because I was the class president as well. So I had that stuff going on top of it and took other leadership positions at the academy. People are different, squad leaders, battalion commanders, whatever you do, like you have stuff that you need to keep track of. And I've taken that practice and I still use it today. I keep a pretty good calendar. I keep a little notepad for my to-do list for stuff that happens at work because I'm not going to memorize all that stuff. So if I don't write it down, as soon as somebody be like, hey, I need you to do this, I'm not going to memorize it. So I keep a good habit of writing all that stuff down in a notepad. It keeps my life organized, man. But I mean, honestly, the only thing that got me through the academy and the only thing that gets me through my life now is my faith, in God. And he kind of keeps the main thing for me. He keeps me spiritually sound to be able to deal with some of the adversity. And I think at the academy, I learned how to continue to lean on that relationship with everything that's going on. And it's just a toolkit you develop, man. It's nothing that's really tangible. It's just you develop a toolkit from going to the academy to deal with adversity that translates directly to life of being able to deal with all the different pressures that come onto you, man. And I think it just speaks volume to what you go through at that institution.
Without a doubt. It reminds me of my favorite speech. I don't know if you've ever seen Kara Lawson. She's the head coach. She was a big time basketball player, the head coach at Duke. And she gives a speech. It's my favorite thing in the whole world, right? She talks about, hey, a lot of people in life wait for things to get easier. They wait for things to get easier. We all do it, right? It's like, oh man, I can't wait until, for the high school kids out there that are listening, right? It's like, oh, I can't wait until I finish my junior year because like senior year, it's going to get easier. It's like, oh, I can't wait until I finish my fall classes because once I get to the spring semester, like I'm chilling, right? Like a lot of people wait for things to get easier, but the reality of the world and the reality of life is never getting easier. We just have to get better at doing hard things, right? And this is why the academy is so great because, like you mentioned, it gives you all of the tools. It gives you all of the repetitions of overcoming adversity, so that way you are ready to handle the next hard thing that comes into your life. Right. And
100%.
There's something really beautiful and strong, again, about going through a lot of adversity, about sailing through those storms to be able to handle it. And true resilience. I love that you keep using this word resilience because I feel like a lot of times it gets associated with just surviving. Like resilience is just holding on. But in my opinion, and I think this is what makes the Service Academy so special, is it gives you real resilience. It gives you real toughness to be able to go through, take all that adversity, experience those defeats, but just be so much stronger to be ready to do the next hard thing that comes to you in your life, right? And, it's really special. And so, I kind of want to even now switch, and not even switch, but kind of just transition to the next piece of your book, which is all about the idea of identity, right? And you talk a lot about how when you've invested a large majority of your life into something, it can easily become a piece, if not the majority of who you are and your identity. And for many people at the Naval Academy, that's the military, right? It's like, oh, I've wanted to be in the military. I'm at the academy. I'm everything military, military, military. And then when the military is not a part of their life anymore, it feels like they lose their identity, right? For you, that was football. For me, it was basketball. And so my question to you is, how did you shed your identity from what you did? And where do you find your identity now? And what was that process and that journey for you to kind of find who you are through this whole process?
Man, like, even it's funny because when you say all that, man, I just get emotional thinking about it because people don't talk about the transition, especially when you're an athlete. And say more than 80% of my life, because I started playing football when I was 5, ended when I was 22, you know what I'm saying? So that's like 18 years or something like that, 17, whatever it is. That's more than 80% of my life. And you don't think about how much that runs your life. Like how much, for me, it's football. I never thought about how much my life revolved around football because I always saw myself as more than an athlete, because I focused on my school, focused on leadership stuff, like involved in the community. So I never realized, but still though, football was the glue that held my life together. My life revolved around it, from working out, from scheduling, from my relationship with my dad, my relationship with my friends, like, the attention I would get kind of gave me some validation. And so when I got cut from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, it was such an empty void in my life and I could not figure it out. I was like, what's going on? Like, I was like, why am I feeling like this? Why I just don't feel any energy towards life anymore. I don't feel ambitious. I don't feel motivated. Like, why do I feel like I'm not who I am? You know what I mean? And, I commissioned back into the Navy thinking that was going to kind of help getting involved in something else. And it still wasn't doing it for me because I was like, something's not right. Like, I don't feel like myself. And it's because my identity was attached to something that was tangible, something that can be taken away. And I tell athletes this all the time. I'm like, listen, man, I made it to the top level of the game, less than 2%. But I always tell them, man, it's not about getting to that point. I was like, if you attach yourself to the game of football, everybody has an expiration date. I said, it's not going to be enough to get you to be able to accomplish things in life. Even the guys that go off and be Hall of Famers, man, it's like there still has to be something there that keeps you going because once it's gone, it's gone. And so from going through that journey, I went on a soul searching, period of my life where I was reflecting. This is where the book came from because I was journaling and I was looking for answers. And as I started to journal, I started seeing these different lessons that happened and the different adversities of my life. And even after I got cut and how I started speaking to kids and speaking to schools about my journey. And I realized, you know what, man, all of this stuff that happened in my life prepared me for what I'm doing now, and it prepared me for a purpose that's greater than me. And so ultimately, my identity is in a God given purpose to impact the lives of others, to help them overcome the adversities they might face, to develop into the person that they can be.
Yep.
And what makes me so reassured now is that the fact that nobody can take that away from you. You know, nobody can take away a purpose. Like, people might take away an occupation. I might change from the military to corporate to coaching, whatever it might be. My occupation might change, but my purpose will always remain the same.
Yep.
And I think when you find identity and a purpose that's greater than you, honestly, I think it's the cheat code for life, man. It gives you everything you need to keep going every day. Like, do days still suck sometimes? Yeah, life gets hard. Do I still miss football? 100%. But I have a different approach on life because I know it's bigger than me, and I know I'm doing this for the other people that I might impact one day.
Nah, it's so special. And I'm really glad you brought that up on two factors. One, which is the spiritual factor, because I think it's so important for, again, all of our service members, both at the academy and then once you get out in the fleet, is to maintain that connection to your faith and to what grounds you, right? Because like you're saying, if you attach your identity to your occupation, you're going to go through these waves, right? You're going to go through the highs and lows. It becomes a roller coaster. It's something I did, right? And I associated early on my service to my military, to like my military occupation, right? But it took a while for me to really kind of readjust and put this idea. It's the Jesuit ethos. Like, I'm very in tune with my Jesuit Catholic faith. And it's this idea of being a man for others, right? Like, how are you of service, right? How are you constantly attentive, caring, loving, and taking care of the people around you, right? And
100%.
I think that's a really, interesting piece. And it helps so much because I had, mentors in my field, right? Again, constantly remind me, which is that the military doesn't have to be who you are. It may just be what you do. And if you keep that purpose, if you keep that idea of being a man for others, you keep that idea of service at your core, that idea of service as a virtue, then you're going to take care of your people and be an incredible military officer, right? Because regardless of what your designator is, regardless of what service, whether you're a Marine, whether you're a Navy, whether you're an aviator, a submarine, or a SEAL, whatever the case is, your primary job is to take care of the young men and women who raise their right hand and swore an oath to the Constitution. You are a leader first, and your job as an officer is to be that person for them, to take care of them, to lead them, to help them, right? To be that resource for them. And so, I love that conversation, and I appreciate you bringing it up because we all experience that in our own lives, right? And for you, that primary
100%.
factor was football. For other people, maybe another thing. But the reality is, if you can keep that purpose at the core of who you are and take care of people, right, it's going to be an extremely special experience, because if you invest in the people in the military, if you invest in that and are less focused on the what in like the overall mission and more focused on the people that are in your division, in your squadron, whatever the case is, like, that's where you get the true beauty of the military experience. Because again, they're going to take care of you, but only if you take care of them, right? And you have that genuine selflessness, right?
And that's where the fulfillment comes from, man. I always tell people, take care of your people, because I promise you, the Navy has so many good people in it that if you take care of the people, the mission is going to get accomplished. Like, we have talented people. And so it kills me when people are like, mission, mission, mission. I get it. I'm not saying the mission is not important, but if you don't take care of the people, the mission is not going to get accomplished to its fullest potential, right? Like, you cannot take care of your people, get the job done, but trust me, take care of your people and then get the job done. Like, it's a whole different kind of sense of mission accomplishment, because now they take pride in it because they know they have somebody that actually cares about them, that's leading them. And another point that you touched on that I want to hit on is like the military. The military doesn't have to be who you are to be good at the job. You know what I mean? I think sometimes people want you to strip away everything else that's in your life and military. Like, it has to be, everything you do has to be military. And it's like, no. You don't have to strip away who you are to be a good officer, to be a good sailor, whatever it is in the Navy. Like, you can bring who you are is what makes you special and what makes you unique. And you need to bring that to your command, because that's what makes a great command. And I think, especially the concept of faith, man, it's hard to keep your faith in the military just because you're so busy. You have a lot going on. And, we're not talking about faith a lot in the military at work and stuff. We try to keep all that stuff outside. but you need to keep it for yourself, because if that's who you are, if that's your foundation, you need to bring that with you, because you can inspire other people simply just by living your life that way. You don't have to be pushing it onto them,
Mhm.
but they will be able to see, yeah, that's a man of faith right there, by the way he's treating me, by the way he's talking to me, things like that.
Without a doubt. And that is going to be the next piece of our conversation. But I couldn't agree more with everything you just said, which is again the fact that your job in the Navy and Marine Corps, it's going to give you purpose, right? It's going to give you life
Yeah,
fulfillment, but you need to invest in the people, right? The real way you're going to get the most out of that is by the way that you pour into the people who are a part of your team, right? And so,
yeah,
what's great about the military experience, what's great about the service academy education, and then your life as a junior officer in the fleet is it's going to give you the opportunity to pour into the experience. And when you do that and you take care of the people around you and you're a good dude and you live that service first mentality, right? You're gonna find true mission, purpose, and
yeah,
fulfillment in your life, and it's unlike anything else, right? And it's really incredible. So, but an important piece of that is being able to show up, right? To show up to work
yeah.
both mentally, physically, and spiritually, right? And so that's where I want to turn
Yeah.
this back over to you, which is you mentioned that it's difficult, right? It's difficult to maintain that kind of spiritual health during your time in the military. What's your best recommendation for how midshipmen can maintain their connection to their faith in their spiritual side while going through the stresses of the academy, right? We have a lot of kids who listen to this, who are getting ready to show up to the academy and they're looking for a little bit of guidance on that. So what would be your best recommendation on how to maintain their connection to their spiritual side?
Yeah, first off, understand that it's gonna look different, man. It's gonna look different. And I mean, I grew up going to church every Sunday, Wednesday night Bible study, like, it was non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously when I went to the academy, that changed a little bit, man. From not having liberty on Sunday as a plebe to, football, like church wasn't really a regular thing for me. And for the longest, I felt bad about that. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I wasn't giving God, the energy that he deserved. And I felt like I wasn't being good in my faith, good in my relationship. But then I realized, it's about developing a relationship with him. Obviously, you need to make time.
Mm-hmm.
You need to prioritize and make time, but it's not always going to look like you sitting in a church getting a sermon, right? For me, a lot of times, man, it's just me reading my Bible at night. A lot of times it was me reading my Bible in the morning before I just started my day off, writing down scriptures and posting them like underneath my desk, like on the little wall on the cork board, and just seeing those daily reminders every day. Kept a Bible in my backpack, man. Every now and then throughout the day, I'm just getting a verse here and there to keep me grounded. But I think the most important thing you can do is you can get you a mentor. So I had Kirby Myers, who ran our FCA program. He would just send me stuff sometimes throughout the week. And obviously we've had FCA that met on Tuesdays, so I would be able to go to that when I could. But just having him there kind of just kept me grounded in my faith and gave me constant reminders. Okay, I need to go pick up my word, pick up the word and get in the Bible. I need to go study this. And so I think a mentor is good, but I also think just having that understanding that it's going to look a little different. Over time, you'll get more free time. You'll be able to go to church, but just focus on keeping that relationship more than anything, and kind of try to just build small routines in there to be able to keep you getting those doses of the word throughout the week, throughout the day. And I think that helps you over time to build that spiritual warfare that you need to be able to battle some of the stuff that you will at the academy.
No, without a doubt. And it was one thing that I did a really bad job of as a midshipman. Honestly, I went through a period where faith was not active in my life, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
because, like you're saying, it's hard. You have a million other things that you need to get done, a million other stressors that are dominating your time, right? And it's something that I struggled with greatly, and it honestly didn't come back into my life until relatively recently. But a big
Yeah.
piece of that was discovering and establishing these routines that worked for you, right? That worked for you to
Right.
be able to maintain that relationship. And so, I appreciate you bringing up like the things that worked for you. For me, for anyone who hasn't read the book, I highly encourage that you read this book. It's called Stillness is the Key. It's this guy, Ryan Holiday. He's a big stoic type
Yeah.
person and author. And for me, that's what really worked the most was I took 5 to 10 minutes towards my, end of my time in the Navy. It took 5 to 10 minutes every day and just sat outside, just sat in
Mhm.
nature and just like was present, right? Was just
Yeah.
felt what was going on and like was just extremely appreciative and grateful for like that moment, right? For that moment. And so, that really built and rekindled that connection, with my faith and just like being out there. So again, you're going to discover a million thoughts, recommendations, things that are going, but find that thing that works for you. But it's so important, right? Again, all I can say now
Oh,
with
it's
this
crucial.
perspective is this, it's crucial to maintain that and find those mentors. They're incredible chaplains at the academy. They're incredible books, resources, additional things on top of whatever your holy text is, right? But just taking care of your faith, right? Taking care of your spiritual health is critical to your success overall, right? Because you need to show up and be able to show, be present and have the ability to take on the burdens of the people that you are leading as well, right? And be able to
Exactly.
guide them through
Yeah.
it. So,
And I think that's kind of what changes when you graduate is you're no longer kind of responsible for yourself, but you have people that you're in charge of. But it's very good that you talked about taking moments to sit still because I think sometimes at the academy with how busy your schedule is and it's almost like if you're not doing something, you feel like you're doing something wrong. So you try to keep yourself super busy. And I heard somebody say one time that like you don't feel like you're doing anything wrong when you're busy, you're just going through the day, accomplishing different things. But somebody said one time that if the enemy can't make you do wrong, then they'll just make you busy, right? Because what that does is it distracts you from some of the stuff that you need to sit still and take the time for, whether it's nature, whether it's reading a book, whatever it is, take that time to sit still. And so like even nowadays, like I always get to work probably 5, 10 minutes early, sit in my car and I read a devotional before I go into work because that simple 3 minutes sets me on the course I need to be able to pour into the lives of other people. Because if I don't fill my cup up, I don't have anything to pour into the cups of others. So that's why it's so important to take that time for yourself. But as a leader, because you can't pour out of an empty glass, like you just can't do it. It's not going to be beneficial down the road. So definitely got to take the time to fill your cup up.
no, without a doubt. All right. Well, as we start to wind this thing down, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today and sharing your insight, perspective, and your story. To help and give back to the next wave of people coming through the Naval Academy.
Right.
But I just want to turn it over to you for, again, a big piece of Academy Insider and what I want it to be is just highlighting all the incredible
Yeah.
aspects of the Service Academy experience and letting people know why they should consider this, because I truly believe it's the best holistic education that you can receive, a
Easy.
life education you can receive. So what would be your recruiting pitch for why young men and women should consider a Service Academy education?
Yeah, if you want to create a legacy that lasts beyond your existence on this earth, you need to go to the United States Naval Academy. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you're surrounded by so many people that are hard charging, hardworking, good people, talented, excellent. You're surrounded by so much talent that you can't help but to feel the need to be great, right? Like it's going to motivate you to either be great or it's going to motivate you to leave because you feel like you can't keep up, right? But if you decide to stick through it, right? If you decide to push through those hard times at the academy, the type of person that you become, the type of people you meet, the type of network you establish is going to set your life up for a life that's going to leave a legacy that lasts way beyond your existence. And like we've been talking about the whole episode, the purpose of service, it's a way of life. And I think going to the academy teaches you that this life is bigger than you and it connects you to a greater purpose. And then from there, you take the people that you meet with, take the people that you met while you were there, develop those relationships and just keep moving forward in life. And I'm not saying you can't do that anywhere else, but I know for a fact that you can do it at the academy and you're going to be much better because you went there. And so I think it's a no-brainer, man. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it.
100%. I appreciate it. And last question, just give you an opportunity again. I'm so glad you brought up the idea of mentors. You even brought it up in the spiritual sense.
Yeah.
But what makes the Naval Academy so special is truly the density of wisdom and leadership that is on the yard and people that are there to pour into your life and your development as a young person and as a young leader. And so I want to turn it over to you. Last thing, which is if there's anyone you want to highlight and say thanks to for the impact that they made on your life and your development at the Naval Academy.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Captain Mendenhall, man. And there's so many names I could list, but I'm gonna give a shout out to Captain Mendenhall. He was my battalion officer, man, and he kind of showed me that you can be who you are in the military, right? Like he didn't have some kind of strict approach that he took, but you still took him seriously. But he also had that personality where it's like, man, he cares about you, and like he kind of showed me that the duality of being a naval officer, of being able to care for people and get the job done. And so, man, shout out to Captain Mendenhall. He led us through, the battalion through COVID and looked out for us. And he truly made a lot of things happen for me, and I appreciate him for that. So he knows he's my guy, man. So I'm definitely thankful for him,
Yeah,
for
Mendy's the
sure.
man. Basketball O-Rep for a little bit as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a dog. That's a dog, man. He's a dog.
Oh man. All right, Cam. Genuinely, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank
Yeah,
you
man.
for again being vulnerable and open up and sharing your story, right? And sharing
Oh, yeah.
the storms that you went through and how that helped establish again the place that you've arrived to. And I think having these conversations, right? It's really interesting as Academy Insider continues, and I talk to so many parents going through the Plebe Summer experience. Plebe Summer is Plebe Summer. Again, people are
Yeah.
going to go through hard times, right? People are going to face real adversity and really start to question their decision. And that's why I love these conversations, and I appreciate it, and hearing these different perspectives and different stories, because again, the Naval Academy and Plebe Summer and all of the experiences that you have, it's a process, right? And it's meant to be this way. And every repetition you get at overcoming adversity is just getting you one rep stronger at getting ready to face the next harder struggle and challenge that's coming in your life moving forward.
1,000%.
The
1,000%, man.
Naval Academy is hard. Life in the fleet is even harder. Like you mentioned,
It's even harder.
like you mentioned, when you're at the academy, all you have to worry about is yourself, right? When you get to the fleet, now you need to take care of yourself, but also lead the young men and women who are a part of your unit, of your division, in your squadron, whatever the case is. And that is your primary responsibility. That is your primary
100%.
responsibility. It is taking care of those people under your command and under your charge, right? And so I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for giving back and sharing your story and your experience. And you're the man. I appreciate it.
Nah, I appreciate you for having me, man. I appreciate you for everything you're doing, putting a positive light. Keep doing it. It's definitely reaching people, definitely touching people.
I appreciate that, brother. All right. Well, everyone listening, hope you enjoyed the episode. Feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Academy Insider Podcast. I really hope you liked it, enjoyed it, and learned something during this time. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe or leave a comment about the episode. We really appreciate to hear your feedback about everything and continue to make Academy Insider an amazing service that guides, serves, and supports midshipmen, future midshipmen, and their families. Thank you.